We're live, pal.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here talking hidden gems on Netflix. This is so fun. This is our 10th episode of Netflix Hidden Gems. Can you believe it, Ryan?
I can't believe it either. I mean, it's just like time has flown by. I can't remember. I remember when we did the first one, and it was like, oh, we'll go back to Disney Plus
All
next week,
right.
though, and not think of it. Now we've covered like a whole galaxy almost, and even like some of the more obscure stuff. But it always comes back to Disney and Netflix. Those have been like the big two for us, at least.
Yeah, I think those are definitely the biggest. I mean, just those are the two biggest streamers. There's no doubt about it. So that's probably why they're the biggest for us.
Over 170 million subscribers, can't go wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Not to
exactly.
mention all the people, not to mention all the people who mooch off of it from others. Though I'm not judging, I'm just saying.
Yeah, the watchers are probably are higher than the numbers would suggest.
Again, not a judgment, just a statement.
Yeah. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. A little bit of personal news. I throughout 2021, I've been trying to lose weight, and it's a bit of a weird accomplishment to have. But I have this belt, and then I wear it every once in a while. But I could get it to like the third notch from the last one. Today, I got it to like the last notch, which means that I'm I'm shrinking. So that's an incredibly good sign. And
Yeah.
I ended up leaving my gym, I believe in May or June, and I was thinking, I don't know how I'm going to make this work, but I've taken up bike riding. I've taken up these. There are these. There's this field where kids have like their football games and baseball games, and there are these bleachers. And like 2 or 3 times a week, I run up and down those bleachers for like half an hour. Kicks my butt, but it's well worth it. And I don't know how much weight I've lost. I'm terrified of scales, but I'm definitely losing to the point where I busted out some clothes from when I was thin, and I'm like, ah, I know this feeling.
Nice. Yeah,
So it's
that's
been good.
great. Well, and especially if you're doing it in a way that's maintainable, that's not restrictive, I think that's really important. And I've actually been getting a little healthier myself. I mean, just through little things. But I have I guess since the summer, I have gone down a pant size. So that's exciting.
Ooh,
Yeah,
very
I
nice.
know. And it's really just through intuitive eating. I've just been really working on listening to my body and just never overeating ever, because I
Mm.
don't like the way I feel when I overeat. And if you so sometimes I just have a tiny bit of food because that's all I'm hungry for. So that's been a big adjustment, but that's really great. I think you should be very proud of yourself because it's not easy to do.
Yeah. As far as like YouTube stuff goes, my Scary Mania series is in full force. Last night, my episode dropped for oh shoot, I can't even remember. Can't remember now. It was The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, and tonight
Oh,
tonight it's going to be the Brazilian horror classic At Midnight I'll Take Your Soul, the movie with the coolest title in the history of movies. And then tomorrow night will be The Last House on the Left, which was not great, but it's going to be fun to talk about.
hmm.
So that's going to be for the rest of the month. Then I got to see Halloween Kills and The Last Duel, which I know, Rachel, you got to see and weren't necessarily a big fan of, which is kind of
I didn't hate it, but I just didn't love the story structure that they chose. And it's tough. I mean, they show a pretty horrible rape twice. Just warning out there, folks. It's
oof.
pretty graphic twice. So, just so you know, but it's it's impressive on many levels. So it'll be interesting to see what you think.
But
Uh,
last weekend I saw No Time to Die. It was epic. Like it's my favorite movie of the year. My top three now is No Time to Die, Summer of Soul, and A Quiet Place Part Two. And I think the rest of my five is The Suicide Squad and Wrath of Man. And I got to fill out the rest of my 10, but that's my five.
Right. Well, we have a bunch of comments actually. I love this. Before we dive into our picks, So Kate Cass reviews, she says, I need to work on catching up on Ryan's Scary Mania. He's covering some interesting classic horror movies. Yes, y'all
Yeah,
need to check it out.
I covered The Haunting the other night from Robert
Oh, good one.
Wise. Upcoming, I've got the original The Wicker Man, not the Nick Cage one, the terrible one. This is the one with Christopher Lee, the good one.
Hmm.
Got the original Carrie, which I've never seen, so it's going to be interesting to hear
Nice.
for you all to hear my thoughts. Friday the 13th, From Dusk Till Dawn. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool. Good. Good. So we also have a Pikachu cat who, if y'all didn't know, she does a ton of editing for me when I am strapped for time and need help. She is amazing. So if y'all need editing for your channels, she's very reasonable and she does an incredible job. So if you're noticing like this video looks a little bit better than the typical Rachel video, that's probably why.
It's Pikachu Cat.
Yeah, that's right. Like the last Movie Nerds Club video, for example. She totally did that one because I was so busy with everything. Anyway, okay, we do have a quick question from Network 98. It says, what's the most overrated movie you've ever seen? So that is a
Um,
loaded question, overrated, underrated. And I think that if you truly are looking at what is overrated, meaning it got tons of praise and I didn't think it deserved that much praise. Not that, so this is not something that is just awful because that usually doesn't get a lot of praise. But I have to say, probably the most overrated movie that I can think of is probably Birdman. I just
I
did not care for it
knew
at
you were going to
all.
say Birdman.
And I just didn't. I like the story. I didn't like the characters. I thought that the way that it portrayed all the female characters was really cringy and problematic. I really hated the female critic. And I know it was supposed to be like satire or something, but I just thought it was cringy. And I thought the ending was terrible. I just didn't like Birdman at all, and it won Best Picture. So I think that's got to be pretty high up there as far as
I'm
overrated.
I'm more of a Revenant man myself.
I mean, if I had to pick, I think that in general, Inarritu is very overrated as a director, but but I would rather watch Revenant if I had to choose than Birdman.
I liked Birdman fine. It should not have won Best Picture. Like I get it. I
Hmm.
get it to a certain extent. I can't even remember. I remember. I believe Whiplash was nominated.
Yeah,
Whiplash should have won, and maybe I'm biased, but Whiplash is a near
yeah.
perfect movie.
That
So
year, you had Whiplash, you had Grand Budapest Hotel, which is I think Wes Anderson's best movie. You had Boyhood, which is great. You had The Imitation Game. You had, I mean, almost every movie nominated for Best Picture that year, in my opinion, was better than Birdman. But there you go.
Imitation Game is so underrated. It's
Yeah.
quite good. It it really is.
What are you about you? What would you say is the most overrated movie that you've ever seen?
As far as I've ever seen, I think I'd have to give it some thought. So I think I'll just narrow it to like a modern setting.
Okay.
And I think I may have to duck under my desk when I say this, but it's Get Out and Us, the two
Hmm.
Jordan Peele movies. I hated Get Out when it first came out. I just didn't think it was that scary at all. Even when I made my review of it, it got dislike bombed all to
Hmm.
East Jesus. But as I've matured, I get like the craft of it and I get what he was trying to go for. It's like the classic Roger Ebert quote. I appreciate what they did and I hated it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Us was a little better, but throughout the movie, I was just thinking to myself, who would build a facility like that underground at a fair? Someone should have discovered that by now, even by accident. Be like, what? What's down
Yeah.
here? Is this Area 51?
I wasn't a big fan of Us. I did love Get Out. I thought it was great. I thought it was funny and tense and had something to say without it being annoying. I really I enjoyed that film. But you know, that's the greatness of film. It's subjective.
Yeah,
And you know, it's not wouldn't be overrated if a lot of people didn't really like it. That's the whole point of the word overrated. Another one that I typically kind of throw out there, it's not the movie that I hate, but I do think the Wreck-It Ralph is overrated as far as a Disney movie. I do not think it belongs on like the high echelons that people put it at. It's okay to me. I don't think it's great. I don't think that I think the story is writing is pretty pedestrian in the movie. Um, and the animation isn't anything special, especially once it gets to Sugar Rush. But that's just my unpopular opinion from Disney.
I like the animation. I like the voice cast.
Yes.
The story's just kind of there for me.
Yeah.
Same with Ralph Breaks the Internet. I didn't like the princess commentary. It just felt like it just felt like they were trying to shoehorn in something that I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of that. The rest of the movie
Yeah.
was good though.
So Kate Cash, she says, probably either The Matrix or The Dark Knight. Please don't
Oh
hate me.
wow.
Neither is bad by any stretch. They're good movies. I just do not get the hype. I have to say, I agree in the sense of that people act like The Dark Knight is untouchable and perfect, and it's not perfect. It has its
Untouchable.
flaws.
Untouchable, no. Really good, yes.
I think it's a good movie, but I do get a little bit annoyed when people like act like you're not allowed to criticize it at all. You know what I mean? That just is a little annoying to me. Another movie that I think is very overrated would be, and we could do the whole stream on this. I would say that a lot of the Coen brothers movies have been overrated the last little while. I did not like. I did
Hail
not
Caesar.
like Hail Caesar. I thought that was, weak. I didn't really like the Buster Scruggs or whatever. I didn't think that was that great. And they wrote it, but didn't direct it. I think that Bridge of Spies was massively overrated. One of the most overrated movies I've ever seen. It did not deserve to be nominated for Best Picture. It had a lot of plot holes, a lot of problems. If it didn't have that Spielberg name, it would not, I don't think, have gotten nominated.
Mark Rylance is excellent. The rest of the movie is just kind of there.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, and then we have Pikachu Cat. She says the most overrated movie I've ever seen would have to be maybe Raya and the Last Dragon. Well, that's recent. It sticks out of my mind because I left the theater pretty underwhelmed.
I feel you there. I feel you
I
there.
can understand that. It hasn't really stayed with me the way that I thought it was going to. And we have Network 98. She says, mine would have to be Shakespeare in Love. It's weird because I feel like Shakespeare in Love is one of those movies that got pounded on so much because it won the Oscar that I actually kind of feel like maybe it's a little overhated. But I understand because it probably shouldn't have won. It was that time with the with what's his name that is in jail. Like Weinstein was like at peak powers, and he got it that win, and so there you go. We do have one other comment before we should get started from Pikachu Cat. She says, I love editing. I recently earned my certification in Adobe Premiere Pro, so I know all the ins and outs. And she does, and she's great.
Pikachu Cat, 90 watts. It's super effective.
That's right. Okay, let's get started. We are going to be giving our 5 hidden gems for Netflix, and please continue to have your comments, and also if you've seen these hidden gems, then let us know and what you think. So my first one, I actually have mostly series this time. I'm not sure why, but that's just what was speaking to me as far as Netflix. But the first one is a movie that I actually got to see at Sundance this year, and now it's on Netflix, and it is Rita Moreno, Just a Girl Who Decided to Go for It. And this is a celeb biodoc about Rita Moreno, and it's fairly normal as standard, I guess, for these kind of celeb docs, fairly worshipful. But it is interesting to go back through her life and see how, particularly her as a person of color, was used by the system in different ways, and how her career kind of morphed and evolved. And you get a lot of both newer talent and her peers also talking. Like you have people like Lin-Manuel Miranda who's on, talking, and and a bunch of different people that she worked with, and her daughter is on the documentary. So she's great. She's an awesome person, and at least from everything I know and can tell about her. And so I enjoyed watching the documentary, and it's as both a cool, interesting person, but also as sort of a portrayal or a cataloging of her time in Hollywood and making movies. So that was really interesting to see. So I recommend it.
She's producing the West Side Story remake that's
Hmm.
coming up in about a month and a half.
Yeah, and I think she has a small part.
Yeah, she's in the original. It was Doc, the older
Oh,
white
right.
guy,
Yeah.
and she's taking his place, which I'm fine with because Rita Moreno is great. Like she won. She's like the first Latino woman to win an Oscar, if my memory serves me right.
Hmm.
I believe she won it for West Side Story, which
Yeah.
if which more than deserved.
Hmm.
The I can't think of the song right now, but it's like the "You're
Yep.
of your own kind, stick to your own
Oh,
kind." Like
yeah.
that
Hmm.
song. That is just
Yeah,
so
that is
good.
a really powerful song. Of course, there's America too. That's very
Oh
famous.
yeah, that's excellent.
In America. Yeah, it's great. So you should check it out. It's a good little documentary. What is your first pick?
So my first pick is from 2012. It is from the beautiful folks at Leica Studios, and it is called Paranorman. I had thought that I had recommended this before, but I checked our letterbox list, and it turns out no, I hadn't. So I'm going to correct that. Leica Studios is one of those animation studios like Aardman. Everybody loves it, but nobody really talks about it all that much. And I think that more people should because Leica, like on the down low, minus the box trolls, has been putting out some pretty stellar work, and Paranorman is really no different. I think
Hmm.
the best I can describe this movie is like a family friendly version of Night of the Living Dead, crossed with The Sixth Sense. It's about a boy who named Norman who can speak to the dead. Like he sees ghosts and he can communicate with them. However, his town is about to be seen by the living dead, and so he and his family, who's not a big fan of him, have got to stop it. I love the style of this movie. The claymation just has my heart. Like I just it's such a style that just looks like it's so labor intensive that they got to put in a lot more effort in order to do it. And so when they pull it off, it's beautiful. And I love horror movies and I love animation, so this is like the match made in heaven right here. The cast is great as well. Cody Smith McPhee, John Goodman's in here, I believe. Anna Kendrick's in here. Uh, Christopher Mintz-Plasse is in here. Casey Affleck. So there's a pretty good cast in here. I still think Leica's best movie is Kubo and the Two Strings because that movie is just excellent. But Paranorman, I think, would have to be a close second or third. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Leica's last film. I forget what it was called, but the one about the Yeti. It wasn't my favorite.
Oh, uh, it's with Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, yeah. I can see it in my head, but I can't think of the name. But I wasn't a big fan of that. But other than that, I really enjoyed all of their films. And yeah,
Missing
Paranorman,
Link. That's the one.
Missing
Missing
Link, that's
Link.
right. And other than that, I've really enjoyed their films. And Paranorman is so great. I absolutely love the laughs, the zombie movie nature, the scares. It's pretty scary in
Mm-hmm.
there. It's more for teenagers, I would say, than for little kids, but I guess it depends on the little kid. But it would definitely have been probably too scary for me as a little kid. But it just, I love the heart to the film. Where the bully, the bullied becomes the bully, and then it takes Norman to talk to her and kind of talk her off the cliff. And I think that that's very moving and well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good choice. All right, my next choice is a series. It's Babysitters Club season 2, and I don't really hear that many people talking about this, and it is so great. It's not just for girls, it's not just for teens. If you like well-written characters, then you'll like the show. It's so well done. I absolutely love the writing. The bond between the girls feels so authentic. Each of the characters feel real and well developed. I was totally invested in every single story. It didn't have that sort of sullen, angsty teenager thing, which is not my favorite. It felt like well rounded girls, and I just love the Babysitters Club. It's so good. I gave it a perfect score in my review, 10 out of 10, which is
Oh
very rare.
wow.
That's how much I liked it. It was so good. I was bawling in one episode. It was great.
I
I won't tell
assume
you
the
which or give
show
any spoilers.
I assume the show is about babysitting.
Yeah, you ever heard of Babysitters Club?
It sounds familiar, but
Yeah, so there's a whole series of books called The Babysitters Club about a bunch of group of girls that form this club in order to babysit for their neighborhood, and it's like a little business for them. And in the books, each book is about one of the different girls and their sort of little story, and that's how they do the show. And this is now the second season, and it's just so well cast, so well acted, so well written. It's great.
so
So
it's like they have a meeting and then one girl goes off and they follow her for like a season or just an episode
just
or
an episode. So they'll have like a Claudia story, and then the next episode will be a Christie story, and yeah,
sounds intriguing.
it's really good. It's so good. Both seasons, great in my opinion. So, what is your next pick?
So my next choice, and as far as hidden gem goes, I think the more apt term for this would have to be cult classic. It's from 1987, and it is Labyrinth. It is a combination of David Bowie as the star, George Lucas as the producer, and Jim Henson providing the creatures. And this is a movie that is wholly unique and in many ways will never be seen its like again. Tells the story of a young girl played by Jennifer Connelly who is tasked with babysitting her little brother. Nice little parlay there. And she hates it, and she's like, "Oh, Goblin King, take this baby away from me." And well, the wish is granted. The Goblin King, played by David Bowie, shows up and takes the baby away and takes her to, well, the labyrinth. And this movie is stuffed to the gills with just creativity. Like I said, it's the imagination of Jim Henson, George Lucas, and David Bowie. Three creative forces that, unfortunately, David Bowie passed on some time ago. May he rest in peace. And Jim Henson, I believe, is also no longer with us. May he rest in peace as well. And it's such a fun movie. David Bowie looks like he's having a good time, especially Dance Magic, Dance. That's a good song. And I love Henson's work on there. Some of the CGI is very dated, but it's the late 80s. What are you gonna do? Overall, this is a movie that's just wholly unique, and I recommend it very highly.
Yeah, I just reviewed it in May for Muppet May, so people to check that out. And it's definitely doesn't have a ton of story, but the world building and everything else is kind of strong enough to make it all work. And so I enjoy it too. We do have some comments real quick that we have. Kate Cass says Paranorman is on Netflix. Might be time for a rewatch. That movie really blew me away when I first watched it. I heard it was good, but it wasn't ready for how powerful the last third is, and I agree.
Yeah, that last
That
third. Ooh.
hmm yeah. And then Pikachu Cat, she says, "That's so exciting. I need to watch that series. I'm so happy they portray the girls as more than just hormonal boy crazy teens. I'm so sick of seeing movies about girls that dress like models to school. Not true. No one dresses like that and are all about makeovers and chasing the wrong boy. And some of us like to dress in sweatpants and focus on our studies and friends."
I know a
And
lot of girls
I
like that.
I completely agree. And that's what's great about this series, The Babysitters Club, is that it feels real. It feels authentic. It feels like these could be kids that actually exist and uh, aren't, there's really not like the mean girl or the, I don't know. I just think they have, it feels like these are actual teens. So I completely agree. All right. My next recommendation uh, is another series, and it's The Dairy Girls season 2. I think I might have already done The Dairy Girls season 1, but you should watch both seasons. And this is a series about girls in Ireland in the 90s, and they go to this Catholic school, and their shenanigans that go in their lives. And it's so funny. It is pretty raunchy, so it's not Hallmark approved, but I really enjoyed it. It was very funny, and I really like all the characters. And it's they're going to have a season 3, which is very exciting because we're worried because it'd been so long, and now the girls have not only started to do other projects, but they're like getting old to play like teenagers, you know. And so because it's been 3 years, I think, since they've been able to film season 2. So it's a really funny show. And definitely a lot of nostalgia for me going back to the 90s because that was when I was in high school. So you should check it out. It's a good show,
Is this a
especially season 2.
period? Is this a period piece?
Yeah, it's in the 90s.
Like the 1990s?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say this sounds something like it takes place in the Emily Bronte universe or something.
Oh, no, no, no. No, it's the uh, s- the Nicola Coughlin, she she made a kind of a name, a big splash on Bridgerton. So she's a lot of people do know her for her 19th century, role, I guess. Um, but this is 1990s.
And I assume this takes place in Derry in Ireland,
Yes.
because I've been there and
Oh,
just
yeah.
oh boy, it's very surreal being in that place because context, Derry is carved up into two, well, not halves, but one large piece that's just called Derry, and one part is Londonderry. Londonderry is all Protestant, Derry is all Catholic, and they hate each other. It's
Mhm.
been a Cold War for a very long time. And I went to Ireland as part of a college class, and so when we went to Derry and we saw Londonderry like across like the faux border there, it was like, something bad gonna happen? Nothing did, thank God, but it was one of those things where it's like it's you could feel the tension in the air.
Mhm. Well, and it's certainly more so even in the 90s, so they deal with some of those themes. It's a really good show. I highly recommend it. So, what is your next pick?
So my next pick, and this is a bit of a toss up in terms of hidden gem because everyone I've spoken to about this movie loves it. It's a classic and it's Jumanji. And I'm recommending it because it's fun, but also it's got a lot of themes in there that I think don't really get brought up a ton of time. And I think it's particularly underrated in that front, especially when you consider all the effort that is put forth into this. Because with the Jumanji movies that have come out, Welcome to the Jungle and The Next Level, I've enjoyed those very much. However, in the original Jumanji, it felt like there was a lot more effort put into there. There was practical effects. The spiders gave me the creeps when I first watched the movie. And stop motion and yes, CGI, but done with practical effects, so it blended really nice. And there was a hunter and Van Pelt, and just there was a lot of creativity thrown in there. And I think the original Jumanji has not necessarily been forgotten, but kind of like, oh, that movie existed. But it's
Mm.
subtly really good. It's one of those movies that I think is much better than you remember. Plus, it has one of the better Robin Williams lines of all time. What year is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen this for a long, long time, but yeah, it is charming. And I think that the special effects work for what they're needed for that story. Like they don't make them like too realistic. Like there's enough fantasy kind of in them, but they are certainly realistic enough. I think it works good.
Plus, the little boy lies and cheats, and gets turned into a monkey. Like
Mm,
that's terrifying.
yeah, it is. All right. Well, my next choice is also mm, borderline hidden gems, but bear with me. I I don't feel like people are talking about this season of the British Baking Show, or Bake Off if you're in England. This season 9 is going on as we speak, and it's really a fun group that they have gathered for this season. Really talented, and everybody feels like they're about on the same level, which makes it very interesting to see who's going to go home. And what I like about this show is that they give them enough time that they're not like ridiculously rushed. Like, as much as I love Chopped on Food Network, the fact they only give them 20 minutes to make the appetizer round is ridiculous. I mean, what can you make? I could barely like microwave a sandwich, and like that's just so little time, 20 minutes. And so
I remember.
I like the fact that they give them, not only do they give them plenty of time, but they've also had time to practice the star baking, and the first round, that they've had time to practice. It's only the technical bake that they get the recipes from scratch and they don't have time to practice. And so I don't know, I just feel like that makes it more interesting, because when they're so rushed, you don't really get to see the bakers do their best. And that's what is interesting. And so I kind of wish sometimes that they would give them more time on Chopped and other shows.
Yeah, I remember during one Chopped, it was the Thanksgiving episode. They gave him 60 minutes. I'm like, a whole hour? You spoiled that.
That's right. Yeah, it's a really good show though. If you like these kind of cooking, baking shows, it's probably the best that's ever been done.
Is it
Very
like
good.
Hell's Kitchen where it cuts between real footage and the bakers being like, so my plan is this, and like the private kind of talks interspliced?
The Not much. No, not much. You have a little bit, but they have two hosts who their job is to kind of go around and talk to the people, and like at the end and the beginning, and maybe if a few little times they might have that kind of interview. Um, but whoever wins Star Baker, gets a good interview, and whoever goes home, of course, gets an interview. But yeah, it's delightful. So, what is your next pick?
So my next pick is from 1997, and it is David Fincher's The Game. When it comes to Fincher, I think this movie gets talked about a lot less than a lot of his other movies. And I mean, Fincher is Fincher, and I don't think he's really done a bad movie except for Alien 3, but that really wasn't mostly his fault. But The Game tells the story about a very rich investment banker played by Michael Douglas who is given this puzzle box by his brother, and it's an invitation to play this game. And well, turns out to be a pretty sick game. That's all I will say. If you love Fincher, then I think you'll really enjoy this if you haven't seen it, because it is stuffed to the gills with twists and turns. I'm going to go super light on plot details because it's one of those movies that you need to be as blind as possible in order to truly experience. It was added to the Criterion Collection, which I think was a very nice move, but it makes it makes you wonder why other Fincher movies aren't in there, or at least I haven't browsed the collection recently, so maybe there are. But even still, this movie's really good. Michael Douglas is in here, Sean Penn is in here, and it's just a movie that it's shot on a lot of locations. It's done with practical stuff. Even the ending, again, no spoilers, feels like the twist is earned. So so The Game is definitely a more underappreciated Fincher movie.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I'll have to, maybe one of these days we'll have to check it out.
Yeah, when we do our next follow up.
Yeah. All right. So my last recommendation is a film I just reviewed over on my blog in mini reviews series. It is the My Little Pony: A New Generation movie, and this is, I think, basically a introduction to the new series that's going to be put out. And I enjoyed Friendship is Magic a lot as far as the series, and I enjoyed the movie for Friendship is Magic. I thought it was really good. And this is also really good. I really enjoyed it. It's a sequel, and it starts out with your Friendship is Magic characters kind of introducing the world. But this is many years later, and you have characters that have forgotten that the all of the kinds of Equestria were once united, and now they've divided into the Pegasus, the ponies, and the unicorns. And there's this animosity between the three, and then all of a sudden you have this new visitor come into town, and who's a unicorn, and they've lost their kind of magic, and so a lot of people, a lot of them hate have this prejudice now against the different kinds, the other groups, and so it has a lot, I think, to say without being annoying. The animation is really, really great. I mean, for what it is, I thought they did a really good job. It's uh, very cute, and I just really enjoyed the animation. I don't think the songs are quite as good as the French Biz Magic songs, but they're serviceable. And I just thought that it had a nice message, it had nice animation, and it was a great introduction to the new series. I think that kids are going to love it if they get a chance to watch it. And so I gave it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really good. So if you have a chance to watch it, you all should. And you should check out Paleo Sterno, his video where he talks about how watching the new My Little Pony movie gave him new empathy. And it's a really good video from one of my YouTube friends. So check that out. But yeah, it's a good movie. So what about you? What is your last recommendation?
So here's the trademark hard left, going from My Little Pony to Clint Eastwood space movie. This is from the year 2000, and it is called Space Cowboys. This is a Clint Eastwood movie that there's a lot of people that are not really high on this one. I've always liked it. I get it's not perfect, but I guess I just have a soft spot for the story and what they were trying to go for. It tells the story of four astronauts who were in the space program but were passed up due to various reasons. They went on with their lives and got regular jobs and all of that, but then some decades later they get called back and say, "Hey, we got a problem up there. You want to go to space?" And they're all like, "Yeah, we thought you'd never ask." And so the movie's all about them training and them eventually going into space and then finding out the mission was a lot more than they bargained for. This movie is very much, there's definitely some sequences where it's like, "Oh, look, it's old guys. It's very much like, I haven't run since the Nixon administration. Like, it's very much stuff like that. However, when it gets into space, I think the movie does get really good. There's an excellent Clint Eastwood one-liner where he turns to James Cromwell and he's like, "I got nothing but time, and I'm only getting older." And it's one that I use, and that's one that I use pretty regularly. "I got nothing but time, and I'm only getting older." It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if there's people that don't like it, I do understand. However, this is one of those movies that I just like. I like that there was good intentions to there. At least the four guys make me smile: Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, and James Garner, who are all great.
Yeah, I've never seen this movie. I thought it was like a comedy.
It's a little, but there are some serious moments, especially
Mhm.
when they get into space. And the
Mm.
ending is genuinely, it's touching slash scary all at the same time. It's scarily touching.
Yeah, it's cool. So we have a couple comments before we wrap things up. We've got Aaron Johnson. He says, there are Coen Brothers movies that are enjoyable. Raising Arizona, Miller's Crossing are great for early Coen. When you go more to their comedies are entertaining too. Yeah, I guess I should have been more clear. More, I would say recent Coen Brothers movies have been a little overrated, in my opinion. I mean, I love Raising Arizona. In fact, I mentioned it. I recommended it on the last Hidden Gems
Hmm.
episode that we did, and I, I like Oh Brother Where Art Thou, The Hudsucker Proxy, Fargo. So they have certainly some good movies. I didn't mean to imply that, but I'm less sort of confident now after a bunch of misses to me. That like the Burn After Reading, I didn't really like. Don't really like Intolerable Cruelty. There were like a number that I just haven't enjoyed that much. And so, I mean, they're doing this Macbeth movie, which I probably will enjoy.
Going to be
But
interesting to see what they do with that story.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just saying, I used to, as soon as I saw, oh, a Coen Brothers movie's coming out, I know I'm gonna love it. Now I'm like, oh, I might like it. We'll see.
Also, the remake of True Grit is really good.
Yeah. I actually haven't seen that one, but I've heard it's good. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. They've just been a little more hit and miss lately. But maybe it's just more Hail Caesar that I just did not like at all.
Mm. But you're right about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That movie's legitimately awesome. I love
Yeah.
everything about that movie.
It's really good. It's really funny. So there we go. That is our hidden gems for this week. We hope you all enjoyed it. We really appreciate the great comments that we got. Thank you so much, and the support. And so thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And Ryan, how can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. Then there is, of course, my YouTube channel, which is just called RyanCam. Just taking a look at my board. For Scary Mania, let's just say for the next five days, I've got At Midnight, I'll Take Your Soul, which is coming out tonight. The Last House on the Left. The Crazies from George A. Romero. The Wicker Man, the original, not the Nick Cage one, the terrible one, and Carrie from 1976. So a lot of stuff coming in. Scary Mania will continue for the rest of the month. I'm officially at the halfway point of the month of October, which is crazy to think about, but here we are. I'm also going to try and see Halloween Kills, even though the reviews have been not great. Also, I will try and have reviews up for The Last Duel and most new releases for the rest of the year. And when October is out, I will be wrapping up my Ghibli series, and then I will be having my Christmas review series. So very busy remaining of the year for me. So if you haven't checked me out, please do.
Yeah, y'all definitely check it out. We got Pikachu Cat. She says, I'll have to check out some of these picks. Thanks. So thank you so much. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please take a look at all that. Just uploaded a whole bunch of reviews actually yesterday because I was a little bit behind. So make sure to check that out. And then also I have Disney Scares Month this whole month going on. And then next month is my foreign language movie month, which is always really enjoyable in November for family movie night. So lots of things to look forward to. And make sure to check out Hallmarkies podcast. We're getting ready for the holidays. And so make sure to take a look over there. And thanks so much, everybody. And we will make sure you check out the Patreon group and merch store. There's a sale right now at the merch store. You can get #AnimationJunkie shirts or the smile worthy or frown worthy shirts. Please take a look. I would really appreciate that. And thanks so much. We'll talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.